Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we are continuing with our rankings of all the Baldur's Gate 3 subclasses. Today we're going to be tackling the Warlock. Here is our current list as far as all the classes that we've already covered. Now there are 4 Warlock subclasses, so not going to be a super long video, so let's get started. Now before we get started with all the subclasses, let's go ahead and talk about the basics of the Warlock because they're a spellcaster but also a martial class. A little bit of a hybrid. And every Warlock subclass has the ability to pick up the Eldritch Blast cantrip, which is one of the best cantrips in the game. In addition to that, they can modify this Eldritch Blast with something like Repelling Blast, and they can also pick up Agonizing Blast as an Eldritch Invocation. And at level 3, every Warlock gets to pick up a Pact of the Boon. If they take something like Pact of the Blade, they're going to use their Charisma modifier with their martial weapons instead of Dexterity and Strength, letting them double dip with their Charisma modifier to not only help out their spells, but again, their weapon damage as well. And the last thing I want to note about every Warlock is the way that their spells work. Now Warlocks only have a few spell slots available to them, but they get refreshed on short and long rest. And in addition to that, as you gain Warlock levels, your spell strength will increase and it'll eventually cap out at level 5 spells. So for example, if you're a level 11 Warlock, you're going to have 3 levels 5 spell slots you can use. And if you're casting a level 3 spell, like Fireball, it is always going to be a level 5 Fireball. There is no way to downscale it to a level 3 Fireball. So you're always just going big dick essentially with all your spells. So those are the Warlock basics that I kind of want to cover because I think it's important to point out these intrinsic strengths that every Warlock subclass has access to. So essentially TLDR, every Warlock subclass is very strong. Now the first Warlock subclass that we're going to talk about is the Archfey. And the Archfey, they get new subclass features at level 1, 6, and 10, and in between there they get expanded spell choices, and if they're really good spells I will point them out, but otherwise I'll probably just skip over them. Now what does the Archfey get? Well, their first class action is Fey Presence, where they can charm or frighten an enemy up to 2 turns. This class action will come back on short rest, and in the beginning of the game, this is pretty solid. This is actually really good in my opinion. Now those expanded spells that I was just talking about, they get access to Fairy Fire, which is a good spell, and Sleep, which also can be useful, but you don't have to take these spells if you don't want to. Like if you want to take Hex and Hellish Rebuke, you can do that too, but you just have the option of taking Fairy Fire and Sleep, where the other Warlock subclasses, they're not going to have access to that. Now at level 6, the subclass feature we pick up is Misty Escape. So when we are hit, we can use a reaction to become invisible, and then on our next turn we get Misty Step. This, in my opinion, is a really good reaction ability that's very unique to the Archfey. It's kind of like having Vanish from Final Fantasy Tactics, where it's going to stop enemies from attacking you, and then when it's your turn, you're going to have advantage on attacking them. So it's kind of like the old switcheroo, and I really like Archfey for this. Now, our next subclass feature comes at level 10, and we get Beguiling Defenses, so we just basically cannot be charmed, which honestly at level 10 here, it's not the greatest subclass feature in my opinion. But we are still a Warlock, so we're still, insanely strong. So when ranking the Archfey, I do think it is probably the weakest Warlock subclass, but that's not too much, I would say, a negative for the subclass overall, because at the end of the day, they are still a Warlock, and Warlocks are insanely strong. So I'm going to be putting this one into the A- tier, which means, yep, all the other ones are probably going to be going above this, meaning that higher side of the tier list is about to get a little bit more crowded. Next subclass up is the Fiend, and the expanded spells that they get are Command and Burning Hands. Command is probably, is it not the best level 1 spell in the game? That and Magic Missile, but Command is amazing, so huge plus for the Fiend already. In addition to that, their subclass feature, Dark One's Blessing, when they reduce an enemy's hit points to 0, we get temporary hit points based on our Charisma modifier and our Warlock level. So this is kind of like a siphon feature, kind of reminds me of being like a vampire. Now to save us some time on the other expanded spells they get, instead of stopping at every level, I think we should just talk about them now. At level 3, they get Scorching Rays, which is amazing, especially if you pair it with Hold Person. Really good there. Level 5, they get Fireball. Enough said about Fireball. And then at level 7, nothing really that special, but I think Fire Shield is pretty good. But level 9, they get Cone of Cold, and I think that's one of the best high-level spells as far as just this shotgun blast of ice. Really solid there. So unlike Archfey, I think a lot of the spells that the Fiend gets here that's unique to their subclass, I think they're just straight up just great across the board. And at level 6 we get our next subclass feature, and we get Dark One's Own Luck. Now this is going to add a 1d10 to our ability checks, and this is good because a Warlock is already working with Charisma, meaning they're a great character to have as the face of the party, and this is just going to help you pass ability checks, so just good. Now at level 10 here we pick up our last subclass feature, and that is Fiendish Resilience. So we get to pick something to be resistant to, and it's not only elementals. We can be resistant to bludgeoning damage, slashing damage, piercing damage. You have a lot of variety you can pick. You can pick only one of them, but you can refresh this on short rest. And this is really handy, especially at level 10 here, because you'll be coming across a lot of like psychic damage, fire damage, and on the fly between short rests, you'll be able to just switch it up and you'll only be taking half damage from those sources. This subclass feature is a great survivability tool that's also flexible. So when it comes to ranking the Fiend, I think just across the board as they level up, they just get stronger and stronger, especially with their subclass feature and their expanded spells. I think this is an A tier subclass. Really easy pick there. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Let's move on. And the next Warlock subclass that is up is the Great Old One. I don't know why I do voices every now and then, but the expanded spells that they get are Dissonant Whispers and Tasha's Hideous Laughter. This is at level 1. But the main feature we should be talking about is their subclass feature, and that is Mortal Reminder. So anytime you score a critical hit, that creature and then all the creatures nearby them have to roll a wisdom saving throw. And if they fail that, they become frightened. And that is a really good subclass feature, especially since the only condition that we need to meet is a critical hit. And that is kind of really easy to do with something like Eldritch Blast. This is already really strong here at level 1. Now as far as the expanded spells that the Great Old One gets, really at level 7 here, Dominate Beast. This can be really good. And then I would say their best expanded spells come at level 9 with Dominate Person and Telekinesis. A lot of concentration coming from their expanded spells. Now at level 6 we get our next subclass feature, and that is Entropic Ward. So as a reaction when an enemy attacks us, we can impose disadvantage on that attack roll. And then if that attack misses, we have advantage on our next attack roll against the attacker. So it's kind of like the old switcheroo. I think I already made that joke earlier. Anywho, and at level 10 we get our last subclass feature for the Great Old One. We get Thought Shield, Psychic Resistance, so we are resistant to psychic damage. But then we also get Psychic Reflection, so when we do take psychic damage, the attacker is going to take that same amount of psychic damage. So we got a survivability tool here, as well as a offensive counter as well. So this is a really good subclass feature in my opinion, especially because in the case of Baldur's Gate 3, yeah, there is a lot of psychic damage that we have to deal with. So when ranking the Great Old One, I'm going to put this one also into A tier. Tempted to put it into S tier, but I think when we look at Hexblade, you'll maybe understand why. I just don't think it's on the same power level. Still extremely good, but Hexblade is just... Well, let's just go talk about Hexblade. Hexblade. Where to begin? There's so much to talk about with this subclass that just makes it kind of overpowered in some senses. So Hexblades, when you choose it, you become a Hex Warrior. You become proficient with martial weapons. You also get access to medium armor and shields. The extended spells you get, Shield and Wrathful Smite. Shield here as a spell. This is another one that's just one of the best level 1 spells in the game. We also get Bind Hex Weapon. This is kind of like us getting Pact of the Blade early on, because Pact of the Blade you pick up at level 3. Well, we get it here at level 1, meaning we're going to be using our Charisma modifier instead of Dexterity or Strength towards our weapon or martial damage. We also get Hexblade's Curse. So this is a bonus action. It comes back on short rest. We inflict this on a target and we get a bonus to our attack rolls against them. Additionally, the number we need for an attack roll is reduced by 1. And if the target dies, then we get some health back too. So just here at level 1, you look at kind of like all the features that are stacking upon one another, and you take Hexblade here and then you compare it to like any of the rogue subclasses, and I feel like if you're a rogue, you'd be sitting there just shaking your head like, God damn. Anyways, and then quickly taking a look at their expanded spell list here. Level 3 they get Blur and then Branding Smite. Those are okay, but at level 5 you get Elemental Weapon. And this is an excellent concentration spell for a martial character, so really good there. Other than that, nothing really at level 7 that I like out of this list other than greater invisibility, but level 9 we get Cone of Cold. Again, that shotgun frost damage or ice damage, really good in my opinion. Now at level 6 we get our next subclass feature and we get a Cursed Spectre. So when we defeat a target that has the Hexblade curse on them, they will rise up as this Spectre, and depending on how powerful that creature is, it's either going to be a feeble, mundane, or primordial Spectre. So it almost has like tiers depending on, again, how strong the enemy is that you killed. Now this doesn't trigger against every target, like it won't trigger against constructs, elementals, oozes, or plants, but when you do summon a Spectre buddy, oh, they are so good. So this Spectre ally that you can summon up, yeah, they're just crazy good. They're just a really good companion. And at level 10, we get our last subclass feature for the Hexblade, and that is Armor of Hexes. So when an enemy who has the Hexblade's curse, when they attack you, you can use your reaction, and it has a 50% chance of nullifying all the damage. And that there is just some good survivability. There we go again with the voices. I don't know what's wrong with me. And to no one's surprise when it comes to ranking the Hexblade, it is going into S tier. I feel like we could have made a whole video just talking about Hexblade and all their features. Like we didn't even go into the fact that your Spectre buddy can siphon life, and if your Hexblade is down and they siphon that life, it gets your Hexblade back up. It's just great utility and support from a companion that is not that hard to summon essentially. But yeah, Hexblade, ooh, so dang good. It just might be the best subclass in the game. Alright y'all, that is the video. This is the updated tier list with all of the Warlock subclasses now added to it. Honestly, Archfey there, I think you could make a case for it being an A tier as well, but Warlocks in general, they're kind of stacked. Let me know what you think about the Warlock and all their subclasses, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace and take care.